I'd like to welcome you to Leading Minds, a podcast that is new to the community. Um, we're going to focus a little bit primarily on leadership, law enforcement, mental health, and life in general. How all of this comes together. My name is Officer Ammo, and I'm going to be your host moving forward with Leading Minds. I want to welcome you to the podcast. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to take part in this, listen to my experiences, and hopefully others as this concept grows. I know there are many people throughout the world that have, their own podcasts related to leadership or law enforcement and mental health and all these different things. And by no means am I reinventing the wheel, but I think that I can show a unique perspective um, based on my life experiences. And the main goal to Leading Minds is to expose you, the listener, to different scenarios, challenges, things that I and my future guests have faced, and the process in which we came out the other side, either successful or slightly scathed or mentally scarred or whatever the case may be. And you can take from our experience and our wisdom and utilize it in your own life and find a way to create a system over time of being able to pay it forward to people that you know in the future. You have your own individuality and your own unique perspectives and experiences, and being able to share that with those who want to hear it is super important. And as my co-host here, Rupert, is walking around and shaking, and he's my little 9-year-old mini schnauzer. He likes to talk and walk around and come visit Daddy from time to time. So if you hear a little jingling in the background, it's my little emotional support pal here, and he's making sure that Daddy's okay and hanging out with him and getting through the evening. So what I'd like to talk about in this introductory episode is, what qualifies me to tell you anything about leadership or any of the other topics, mental health, the law enforcement side, what makes me an expert. I think in some aspects of each category there, I have a level of expertise, but I don't consider myself the leading expert or anything like that. I have a perspective and I have experience in each one of the categories, sometimes extensive experience as it pertains to life and mental health and law enforcement. My leadership is has grown since I was in high school. I was part of several sports teams in which, you know, uh, had some articles published about my leadership skills in the local newspaper, driving our team to success, even specifically in basketball, when I wasn't even getting to play. I was sitting on the bench. And I bring that one up because it's important and it's a concept of you don't have to be the starter to be able to lead. You don't have to be the star to lead. You can lead from any position. And I was grinding it out every day with those guys on that team, and I wasn't getting an opportunity to play very much. And we were losing some close games. And to be honest with you, I got tired of it. I was I was upset with the fact that we were losing, and I didn't feel like I was being allowed to contribute enough. And I figured at this point, uh, I can push from the sidelines, and I can push my guys to be their absolute best, and that's what I did. And so it was a cool little thing to have that published. But I played football and some other sports and got to contribute in those aspects. And um, as I got older and got into law enforcement, I've been in law enforcement for 20 years. And you can tell by my accent, I'm from the South, not the deep South, as little Nicky likes to say, but the South nonetheless. I'm a law enforcement officer in North Carolina. I will, throughout this podcast and many episodes following this one, um, use an alias just because I'm still currently active in law enforcement and to protect, myself and people that I interview and my family and things like that with our identity is it's easier just to use an alias. So Officer Ammo is the one I'm going to use. My unique perspective over 20 years of law enforcement has ranged from multiple different jobs within the field. I was a patrol officer for 10 years, um, conducted investigations on the side for a few years during that time, as in addition to my duties as a patrol officer. Had a lot of good times on patrol. Um, Found myself becoming very bitter and things like that, and really wanted more. I wanted. I was very driven towards investigations, and I ended up moving over there in 2013, 2014. Hell, it might even have been 2015. It's been a minute. Uh, and I spent 3 years there full time in investigations, and then went to be a patrol sergeant. I was a patrol sergeant for 5 years, and 1 year of that I was doing double duty as the detective and covering patrol sergeant shift duties, and then been a lieutenant, um, evidence person, ABC officer, a little bit of everything. ABC officer, for those of you not familiar with the North Carolina law enforcement and alcohol law enforcement, it's basically a municipality, or we have an ABC system. It's a state governed um, alcohol regulation system, and each municipality has its own can have their own officer that handles inspections and things like that. So I did a little bit of that too. Um, but the leadership aspect of law enforcement, with the around 7 years of formal leadership and then many years of informal leadership, has really driven me to want to do this. I've wanted to be able to speak to others about my personal experiences with leadership in this field and life in general for many years. Never had the guts to pull the trigger, so to speak, on doing what I'm doing right now. Um, and to be honest with you, I don't know what will come of it. I would love to be optimistic and think that it will blossom out. But at the end of the day, if me talking into a microphone helps someone else deal with problems in their life, like that's the goal. If monetary gains come later on, then so be it. But you know, I don't have a specific itch that I need to scratch when it comes to ego or you know financial strength, restraints or anything like that. I'm comfortable, and I think being comfortable as a person and as a leader is super important. So again, the basis of this whole process is being able to help people. I mean, that's why most people get into law enforcement in the first place, is to help people. But I think even more so in from a leadership standpoint is you're helping those who help others. So you're kind of detached from that front line thing once you move, past a certain level in your career, and your job, your goal is to make the process run smoothly for those who are helping other folks, and to put them in the right spots and to give them the tools that they need to succeed, and for them to know that you support them and that you stand beside them and you know push them to achieve their goals in their lives and their careers. So that's what this is has a little buddy making little noises. um Little Rupert here talking to me. But you know I think it will help. I think there's a lot of folks that get into these leadership roles and they want to do good, and yeah, it's great to get an extra pay raise and there's some responsibilities that go along with it, but really don't understand what they need to do to learn to lead people, to guide them. And I'm learning every day. So don't don't think that I'm sitting here telling you that I've got everything figured out and I am the end all be all when it comes to leadership. I'm not. Um, I'm just a guy in his 40s that has some life experience and wants to share it with whoever will listen, and hope to God that it helps them out. So, moving on to the next point and topic that we will cover in this community and in this podcast will be mental health. There is a stigma in law enforcement as well as in society in general, and it's gotten so much better. So don't get me wrong. Um, the acceptance that people struggle, it has so changed over the years. I mean, you know, when I first started realizing, I guess as a child, that mental illness was a thing, um, it was something you didn't talk about. It was something that, you know, he kind of hid from everybody. And um, the older I got into my teenage years, dealing with massive anxiety and depression and, you know, undiagnosed attention deficit disorder, and suicidal ideations and just feeling alone. I remember I can't talk to anybody about this, or they'll have me committed, or I can't talk about how I feel or how it's difficult for me to learn these topics that are in school because it's going to take away from other people, and so I would suffer from that side of it in silence. And anybody that knows me now will know that suffering in silence is not something I do anymore. um, I've found over the years, and I've been in therapy for a few years now, and have found that my defense mechanism, as we'll call it, I refer to it as asshole. That comes out from a necessity when I was younger to protect myself, and as we'll get into in later episodes with some of my personal history, I had a very great need to protect myself, and you know later on in life when that need wasn't quite there, I hadn't developed the appropriate uh, mechanism, plans and emotional intelligence and things weren't actually in place in order for me to process emotions and what I felt was criticism or personal attacks or anything like that. So I would fall back directly to defense and become angry. And for a long time, I was known as a hothead. And I've made a conscious effort to change from that, you know, perceived persona that I had of being a hothead and being angry all the time, to work to be a more supportive friend, coworker, supervisor, things like that. And I'll tell you, once you are tagged with something like that, it is very hard to remove. So, and I feel like that's something that I'll deal with for the rest of my life, and that's okay because I've accepted that that part of me, that side of me, was created out of a way to protect myself, and that side of me is important to protect the more vulnerable side of me. On the flip side of that coin, it's okay to be vulnerable with the right people. Uh, there's a scripture from the Bible, which you'll hear me quote sometimes, and I'm sure that every time that I will butcher it unless I'm reading directly from it. I am a man of faith. I am a Christian. Um, I don't act like it 99% of the time, and I do struggle with my own faith journey from time to time as struggles come, and I try to handle things on my own, and things happen that I don't understand. Um, so, and we can talk about that later on. Um, this is kind of just a get to know me side of it. So, one of the scriptures that I was talking about when it comes to being vulnerable with other people is to never cast your pearls in front of swine. And, telling your story, your testimony, your experiences in life are great and can help many people as long as you don't cast them, your pearls in front of swine. People that are undeserving of that message. Um, so there is a degree of vulnerability here with, giving you my story because I don't know everyone that's going to listen to this, and people will have different opinions on, what I say and things that I've experienced in my life, and that's fine. But what I'm getting at being vulnerable with people is if you have the right people and people that you trust and love and care about, and they're out there, even if you feel alone, I can assure you somebody loves you and somebody cares about you and somebody is thinking about you. Whether you know it or not, whether you guys have had disagreements in the past, somebody cares enough about you to think about you. Whether they express it to you or not, I can guarantee you that somebody is thinking about you in a positive way. So it's important to find people to talk to, whether it be a therapist, whether it be a friend, a priest, preacher, whatever. Find somebody to speak to, find somebody to reach out to. And I can tell you from personal experience in the field of law enforcement and being a male, there's a stigma around mental health still to this day, um, that exists because people don't want or think that it is a negative to express that I've had suicidal thoughts in the past or I'm currently having suicidal thoughts. It's okay to ask for help. 100%. Is it hard to do? Absolutely. Now, I know this from two different sides of the coin. I know it from personal experiences with having suicidal ideations, and then I know it from losing really close friends to suicide. I have seen families directly after their family member has committed suicide, and either they found them or, they've heard the news. I've had to tell them the news. It it's heartbreaking. So, from that perspective, if you have ever considered or are considering suicide, please get help. Please reach out to somebody. Um, there are national suicide hotlines. There are regional suicide, um, mental health hotlines that you can reach out to. Please, I encourage you to reach out and get help. You're not alone, and someone cares about you. I can assure you. I have never given a death notification where the person that I'm giving it to could care less about the person and didn't care that they had passed away. So I can assure you, no matter how lonely you feel, someone's out there and they do care. I want to touch back on leadership just a little bit. I have a saying, I have many sayings written up on my walls in my office. One of them is be the supervisor that you needed, not the supervisor that you have or had. I think it's important to evaluate the good supervisors that you've had, if you've had any, or the positive traits that you've had. And this can be applied to business, this can be applied to uh, school, personal life, whatever it may be. Every human being has flaws, And every human being has good qualities. Some may only have one, um, but everyone has good and bad qualities. And it's important to realize I had a really good supervisor in law enforcement when I first started out, and I had a really rough time with another one. And I took positives and negatives from both supervisors and other supervisors that I've served under throughout the years or observed as they led folks within my agency or other agencies and said that's a really good quality. I'd like to take that and use it for my own. Or that's a really bad quality and I don't want to ever put someone in that position. So I'm going to make sure that I don't do that. So it's important for you to evaluate yourself and reevaluate yourself and make sure that you're staying true to your values and what you have set the bar for expectations for yourself. So I'm sure that no one ever got into a supervisory position in order to just be a bad supervisor. You know, there might have been selfish reasons for getting into it. I want to make more money. I want to not have to do as much of the grunt work, things like that. Not, you know, super admirable qualities, but I don't think anybody came into it with, I'm going to be a bad supervisor. So that's why it's important to constantly reevaluate yourself. Put your ego aside because it's a very hard thing to do. And sometimes ego is sneaky. Um, and we can definitely dive into that more in later episodes about ego. Um, but I've had my ego sneak up on me, and I was trying to figure out why I felt the way that I did. And this is a book that you'll hear me quote and come back to multiple times, is Extreme Ownership, um, by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin. Uh, it's an amazing book. I don't care if you're in business, law enforcement, military, whatever it is, the your personal life. The concepts in that book can be applied anywhere. In order for you to be successful, the concepts in that book are amazing. I've read it. I think this is I'm reading it again. I think I'm on my seventh time through it. It's an outstanding book. But ego is can be a killer. I mean, if you can't set that to the side and take ownership of your actions and ownership that, corrections may need to be made, you're not going to be an effective leader. If you think that you are perfection embodied as a leader, you're failing already. I can tell you that from personal experience. Um, you're not perfect. You are exactly the way God made you, which is wonderful. Um, but we're all flawed. So if you can look at it from an open minded perspective, that there will be things that I need to change and things that I need to do better on, and I will fail in some cases, but I'm never going to quit. Um, that's how you're going to drive yourself to be an effective leader. You evaluate things that you've done wrong, and you work to make things better. Now, we've gotten into this for a while. We've talked. You've listened to me for you know over a half hour now, and we'll have more guests on in the future. I have some folks that I've already reached out to that are willing to participate and get their point of views on things. Um, but I did want to tell you, and you've probably already heard some of them, or you will in the future. Uh, my ammoisms. So, due to playing football and other things, I've had a few concussions, and so sometimes my brain just comes up with words in place of where the actual word used to exist in my brain. So I apologize ahead of time if I come up with a word or pronounce a word that is a little wonky. Um, I do my best, but then I've got the southern slang thrown in there as well. So we get a whole lot of y'all and ain't and things like that. But I'll try to speak as proper as I can so that I'm clear and concise when I'm speaking to you. Um, and I do fancy myself a little bit funny from time to time. I'm quite the movie lover and music lover, and I pretty big on movie quotes. So I'll try to let you know where they're coming from whenever I spit them out, and I occasionally do voices. So I apologize, but it's not that I think I'm funny, but I've been known to make people chuckle from time to time. So if I make you chuckle, you get some enjoyment out of this and listening to me ramble on, then hey, good. If not, I apologize, but that's who I am. I apologize that you don't like it, but I'm not going to apologize for who I am, if that makes sense. The final thing that I'll talk about, and I'll wrap it up, is giving yourself grace, not only as a leader, as a person, whether you're a father, mother, spouse, brother, sister, whatever it may be, give yourself grace. Because life's hard. It will kick you in the teeth. But you know what? It's okay. Because it's not going to stop you. Every day you get up, you take a step forward. If life knocks you down, you climb yourself back up and you push harder the next day. You don't give up. You keep pushing forward. On that same side, while you're giving yourself grace, make sure to give others grace too. So we don't know what other folks are going through, what struggles they're having in their lives that are making them behave the way that they are towards you. It may not be directed at you. You just may be the person in the crosshairs. So try to be a little forgiving and give some grace to people. Um, I'm not saying being somebody's doormat, but sometimes people need grace and to love people up, let them know, encourage them, even if they're down, even if they're pissy and probably don't deserve encouragement and love. Giving them that little bit of love and encouragement can go a long way. Even if they're not quite receptive to it, just tell them, hey, bro, you're doing a good job. Or, hey, I appreciate you. something like that, it will sit in the back of their mind. And, one day it might move to the forefront and be like, hey, remember that day that you came to me and just out of nowhere said, hey, doing a good job, or I appreciate you? Yeah. Well, that meant a lot to me. It's it's weird how things work, but you know, I don't know that I believe in karma, but I definitely believe in treating others the way I want to be treated. And, you know, it's not for me to say that things are going to come back better for me if I treat people well. I don't think that's guaranteed anywhere, and I'm living in proof that that doesn't always happen. But try to treat folks the way you want to be treated. Love them, be there for them. You know, if you feel alone, I'm sure other people feel alone also. So love them up, treat them right, give people grace, be the leader that you wish you had. Till we speak again, be safe. God bless you, and I love you. Take care.